Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Shannon Bowler, and I am the Executive Director of the National Culture Days organization. We are pleased to have you all together here today for a Culture Days 101 webinar. We're really excited to host this from us and on behalf of our regional partners. It's been a while since we've done a more 101 sort of session just to refresh and remind everyone about the great event that is Culture Days. So I will be walking you through the presentation today, and a bit further along, I will be joined by our wonderful media and communications advisor, Mercedes Blackwood. So just to get us started here and a few housekeeping items, a few reminders as we start the Zoom. You can personally turn on the option for closed captioning below the screen, which will create an auto-generated English caption for you. And while we had planned to have live transcripts available in English and in French today, we did unfortunately experience some technical difficulties, so they will not be available live for this session, but we will send them out with notes and follow-up materials next week. But I do apologize to our French-speaking attendees. In addition to that, only the presenters' microphones and cameras will be on, but please, as you already are, use the chat to share where you are tuning in from. It's really exciting to see all the new names and lots of familiar names in there, so welcome. Once again, while we won't be hosting a typical Q&A session at the end of this presentation, we will be answering some of the most common questions that we usually get through this presentation, and we'll point you to many linked resources through the chat so you can follow along during the session. And as I mentioned before, this session will be recorded and available in English and French captions, which we will share with you in the next week or so, and you can share with your colleagues and join the fun. So I'd like to first begin with a land acknowledgement. First of all, this Culture Days network that we're all a part of, or you're just joining, is very present and active in all the corners of the country. And all of our organizers, all of our partner organizations, we collaborate with a vast array of people, different organizations working in different communities all across Indigenous territories. So Culture Days and our partner organizations are very committed to working with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities, and we all seek to uphold equity for all to participate, supporting a diversity of art forms and cultural expressions. Today in particular, I am speaking to you from the traditional territory of Métis Nations, which includes the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. This area that I am in, now called Toronto, is covered by the Treaty 13 of the Mississaugas of the Credit, and these territories are guided by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant. So we're happy to share with you some information. If you're new to the network, that's great. If you are a seasoned pro, we hope this is a nice refresh and re-energize. So just as a reminder, Culture Days, this national annual celebration of arts, culture, and creativity all across Canada. Every single year since 2010, all across the country, thousands of free participatory arts and culture events are offered by independent organizers as part of these celebrations, and they welcome millions of participants to create, share, and celebrate a life enriched by arts and culture. So the aim of Culture Days and all these associated events is to encourage the public to engage, interact with, discover, rediscover the importance of arts and culture in their lives and in their communities. And we hope it inspires their year-round support of local artists, organizations, venues, and institutions. So this year, the National 3-Week Celebration is taking place from September 20th to October 13th, 2024, write it down. And our event registration will open mid-May of this year. So just to refamiliarize yourself a bit of our history, Culture Days was initiated in 2010, was initiated by the Canadian Arts Summit, which is made up of some of Canada's largest organizations, arts organizations, and was very much inspired by the success of Quebec's Le Journée de la Culture weekend. The event was envisioned as this sort of collective opportunity for arts organizations and advocates, artists, cultural champions to appeal directly to the public for their participation and ongoing support of arts and culture sector. And from its onset, the celebration did take place over 3 days, so on the last weekend of each September. Of course, in 2020, in response to the pandemic, the event was expanded to encompass 3 weeks. And this framework continues to remain in place. It really has allowed for increased flexibility in the programming and offers a lot of different avenues of discovery for the public. So each year, the event represents this coordinated national effort to increase access, participation, and appreciation of arts and culture. So through these expressions of creativity, culture, connection, each participating community's vibrancy and diversity is on full display during this annual celebration. So a little overview of some of the folks who typically participates, where you could see yourselves, but really from the beginning, anyone can organize an event and participate in Culture Days, from grassroots community volunteers, public libraries, independent artists, collectives, all the way to those major arts, culture, heritage institutions, specialty festivals, municipalities. Everyone is invited to participate. We have found that some of the main motivators for organizers to participate, which may resonate with you, many participate in order to strengthen their ties with the local community, very much to build new audiences, to showcase their work to the public, and to collaborate and partner with new artists, different organizations in their communities, see what can grow and be made there. So through this sort of self-organizing network, studio doors are opened, backstages revealed, main streets, alleyways activated, and the ways in which our day-to-day lives are intertwined with and elevated by arts and culture is on full display. So for those not in the know, what is a Culture Days event? Let's get into the details, eligibility. If you are organizing an event for Culture Days or you have an existing event that you would like to include in the celebrations, we do ask that it meets the following criteria for inclusion in the national listing. So first of all, we do hope that the event is somehow participatory. It's really, those successful events are really about getting hands-on, behind the scenes. It should show participants the creative process, kind of unveil that for them. Something a little bit beyond the typical experience is what we highly recommend in terms of programming. That it takes place during the designated Culture Days event run, which again this year is September 20th to October 13th. So as long as the event occurs at least once over the course of those dates, you're totally qualified. You do not have to program for its entirety of those 3 weeks to qualify, of course. And as stated, if your program runs once or a dozen times, it's still part of Culture Days. We do ask that it is required on the Culture Days website. Again, registration will open this year in May. Registration is free. We offer 2 different ways to register events, an in-person activity or an online activity. And then it must be free for the public to attend. Now, in its main function, as a public engagement opportunity, the Culture Day celebration is committed to free admission as a means to reduce barriers to access and to really encourage the public to kind of stretch beyond their normal behaviors, try something new. However, we do offer organizers the option to have a pay what you may admission. And of course, you're welcome to solicit donations at the event. So registering events in our portal is really, really important, and it's really easy. We ask for some key information like an event description, location, date, time, some information about you, the organizer. And once events are registered, they go through a very short review process where our teams screen for eligibility, spelling errors, we verify the location for you, and it's completely free again, gives you access to lots of additional promotional tools. We'll outline some of those later in the presentation. And importantly, it allows the public to find your events in the listing. So all that said, one exception to the above eligibility is for those events organized around and for the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, taking place every year on September 30th. So as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation importantly honors the lost children, survivors of residential schools, and their families, we endeavor to acknowledge, better understand that history, better understand the harms done, and as individuals and members of our communities, engage in actions which advance truth and reconciliation. So accordingly, Culture Days has set September 30th aside to create space exclusively for events organized to commemorate the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, including those aimed at sharing First Nations, Métis, and Inuit experiences and perspectives, while also honoring and celebrating the creative and cultural expressions and contributions of Indigenous people and their communities. So in order to ensure that these Indigenous voices and participation are central to any event planned on that day, there are a few additional questions for organizers during that registration process. And if the proposed event doesn't appear to be appropriately or meaningfully reflecting the above, we may reach out and ask for more information and just connect with you. So while with all of these events and activities happening across Canada the past few years since the declaration of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, there's been many opportunities to observe the day with intention. There's been hundreds of events presented so far as part of Culture Days. Okay, so let's talk some numbers. We all like numbers. Every year we undertake pretty extensive cross-country surveys, market research initiatives. Through this, we do know that Culture Days is moving the needle on public appreciation, support, and involvement in arts and culture across the country. Last year, amazingly, was the largest celebration yet in 15 years. Over 4.4 million people took part in Culture Days, which is about 11% of the population, which is just amazing. Over 3,000 free in-person and online events were presented in over 50 different languages, and more than 1,200 organizers presented all of these events in over 300 communities across the country, which is just wonderful. So we wanted to share with you a little bit of feedback that we gather each year too from organizers like yourself, you may be. Culture Days' growth in engagement and participation with the public and organizers since the onset of the pandemic has actually been particularly noteworthy, very encouraging as well, a little surprising, especially given the continued precarity faced by the arts and culture sector. Again, this attendance has increased 120% since 2019, and it has tripled since 2017. So we're really encouraged to see this as a tool, especially for re-engaging audiences, but also maybe new partners, new supporters. We hope that you see the value in that tool and creating those opportunities for yourself. So as you can see with some of those stats on the screen, pretty high satisfaction in recent years with attendance. We see attendance to individual events increasing. There is a satisfaction in attracting and engaging new audiences, which we think is really important. And organizers seeing that value in being able to form new partnerships, deepen collaborations, deepen the network. And of course, the ability to attract and retain a new diversity in audiences is especially great. So, we see this importantly by coming together under this campaign of promotion and support of the sector of artists and creators. We're collectively championing this very important contributions that arts and culture make to our communities. So now, just to switch things up a little bit, I'm going to invite our media and communications advisor, Mercedes Blackwood, there she is, to share some more information about that audience research we've talked about and share some of those benefits and more resources connected to this annual promotional campaign.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Shannon, for the introduction. And, I'm always very, very interested as well, just as all of you are. So what I like to start with always is a congratulations. You are in the right spot. So if you are returning to Culture Days, welcome back. And if you're exploring or you've decided you're going to jump in this year, we are thrilled to have you. And I'm going to just talk a little bit about why Culture Days is even more than a wonderful national celebration. It is also an amazing opportunity for the arts and culture industry and for you as creators and people who want to share your art, your culture, your heritage with your community. So as Shannon mentioned, 15 years of Culture Days has provided us with some excellent market research and metrics that show the full impact of Culture Days and show so much about the audiences that attend. So not only the numbers, which are incredibly impressive, but also about the motivations and intentions of the people who come every single year and how participating specifically can benefit you, your organization, or the wonderful work that you do. So just as a quick look, a little deeper look into the audience, Culture Days audiences are increasingly younger and more diverse, which is fantastic and exactly the aim. 64% of attendees are under the age of 35, and I don't have to tell you that that's a tough group to get in touch with. And so Culture Days is a really wonderful path right into this group who is highly engaged and highly participatory in Culture Days. 40% report being visible minorities, and almost 40% report being newcomers or immigrants. So not only is Culture Days a wonderful way to engage the surrounding community, but a really great way to introduce your version of art, culture, and heritage to people who sometimes have just arrived or haven't been here very long. What a wonderful way to get acclimated, right? So the motivations to attend not only support you during the Culture Days event, but continue beyond Culture Days. And we know that from the surveys that we've done post-event time. For instance, 89% report they're more likely to spend money all year long and on arts and culture in their communities, which is incredible news for you. It means that besides benefiting you during the Culture Days event period, it means that people now know you're there, have fallen in love with you, and are far more likely to participate in the other things that you do all year long. In terms of moving the dial, that is a mind shift change that Culture Days is behind. It changes how the public perceives and engages with arts and culture, which is so important for the industry overall. 95% report an increase in their appreciation of arts and culture, and 93% report an increase in their likelihood to include arts and culture in their daily and social lives, which is great news again for all of us. All of this high engagement leads to incredible reach from our annual marketing campaign. Every year, we have incredible reach through the various resources and partners and initiatives that take place both on the national, provincial, and local levels. So all this is to say, it's a very good thing to participate in Culture Days as an organizer. So remembering that at its core, Culture Days, while a wonderful thing for the general public to participate in, is an initiative that is aimed at supporting the overall arts and culture community and industry across Canada, right? So we want to provide opportunities for people to raise their awareness of what's available in terms of arts and culture and how they themselves can be enriched by participating. We have a suite of really wonderful national partners who help us to make this campaign huge, right? That's 700 million to 1 billion impressions every year. Well, that is assisted by our partners like Pattison Outdoor, Cineplex, BTA Advertising, and CBC, all of who use their mediums and their resources and platforms to help to continue to spread the word of Culture Days. And this is a ride that we can all get on, right? We are advertising this nationally. And you, as a local organizer, can take full advantage of this marketing campaign by participating. So while these things are happening nationally, on the provincial level as well, our partners are running coordinated efforts. And they are the real drivers behind local media coverage, which adds to those impressions that we get every year. And in fact, just last year, local coverage produced more than 1,300 articles about Culture Days. Everything from Culture Days as an overall event, to profiles on individual artists and initiatives, to profiling a city or municipality that has done an incredible job of creating hubs or central areas where Culture Days events are happening. And so we make it really, really easy for you to participate. We want you to be able to take advantage of this campaign. And we do that by providing a nice variety of marketing tools and resources that we can all use to make this the best Culture Days yet. So whether you are very experienced marketing aficionado, or you are just starting out, I do not want you to worry. We have got you. We have lots and lots of wonderful tools, as I said, to help and assist you to promote your event. So once event registration launches in mid-May, as Shannon said, you will find a slew of amazing marketing materials and content that have been provided for you that are both customizable if you have that skill. So if you have a skill of being able to manipulate graphics or manipulate anything like that, we have you covered. We have elements that you're able to use. But if you are new, if you are just getting familiar with something like Instagram and you're like, listen, I'm just starting out, don't worry, we have lots of static things for you as well, things that do not require customization, but that you can certainly use to promote your event. And these are really, really incredible pieces. We're very excited to reveal them to you. So as I said, May. We've also developed a collection of really great planning resources. We know that, especially when you're starting from scratch, it can be tough. And we really could use a little assistance in how to start, how to make sure I'm planning a really lucrative, compelling event, and how to make sure I'm doing the most that I can to get the word out about it. So we have the event organizer guide, promoting and planning an event, indigenous cultural programming guide, school engagement toolkit, and so much more. We're also developing and updating some of the tools that we've had available to you in the past. That includes, we are developing an equitable event, community, communications and accessibility strategies guide, and a new and expanded marketing, PR, and media guide, which again will give you lots and lots of step-by-step guidance as to how to do things like pitch, promote, and plan a campaign. Additionally, on our website listing is a full list of all of these resources and tools. So all you need to do is head to culturedays.ca to check out the resources and start looking through and familiarizing yourselves with all of the wonderful tools that are available for you to plan the best event ever. So also stay tuned for a little bit in the coming months. We'll also have some webinars and stuff that you can join in on that will give you some more skill in terms of developing really great content and marketing strategies. All right, thank you so much. And I cannot wait to see what you bring to this year's Culture Days. Back to you, Shannon, thanks.
Thanks, Mercedes. What a wonderful speaker. So, um, I wanted to go over a few, maybe some planning tips, depending where you are, whether you have participated before, whether you're unsure about being able to pull something together for this year. I really encourage you to explore our website. We have a lot of inspiring stories uh, showcased on our blog. We have a great event programming ideas resource that is available to you. You can still actually browse last year's events, which is quite awe-inspiring too. So those are still up on the site. Those will be archived and put on our archive map closer to the new registration launch, but you can still browse around those. Again, like I said, we have a lot of organizer profiles, community spotlights on the site, but also on social media. We're constantly doing profiles of past organizers, uh, people who are doing pretty innovative and interesting things all across the country. And then, of course, we very much encourage you to connect with these regional and provincial teams, like as Mercedes mentioned. We're going to give you all that contact information later on in the presentation. And they are the people to brainstorm and strategize with about your programming. I also just wanted to mention, for those who might be new and a little unsure of how to participate, it's 3 weeks. When we've already, set our programming, our schedule. Um, there are a lot of ways that folks have been quite creative in terms of adapting their existing programming that might already be ticketed or pay to enter, to just add on and adapt that programming. There's been a lot of great new ways to do that, to still, welcome those new people and just get them in the door, get a feel for what you do. So some of those examples offering a selection of designated free tickets as part of the event for Culture Days attendees, offering some free programs in the lobby before these ticketed events that folks can come and access, little previews, whatnot, artist talks, special receptions that are connected to exhibitions that might be going on. Then you have the opportunity to offer them a discounted ticket if that works for you. And of course, those behind the scenes tours, which are always very exciting. In fact, I wanted to highlight the event that's actually on the screen. This was last year's, pardon me, Truth and Reconciliation concert produced by the Royal Conservatory at Kerner Hall. So this event was a part of their regular season programming. It was primarily a paid event and a fundraiser for many great organizations. But for Culture Days, to participate in Culture Days and seeing the value in participating in Culture Days, they did offer the selection of free tickets that could be pre-booked. I think a few walk-ins as well. And it was a really incredible event, and really important to be a part of that Culture Days event schedule. So, a couple other shout outs. I think a few of you are in this webinar as well, but I wanted to highlight just a few different interesting ways folks have adapted and made the Culture Days that tool for their own, towards their own mandates and inviting new audiences in. Just a couple to highlight as part of this presentation. The first one is folks in Vernon, the Sundog Festival. It was produced by the Arts Council of the North Okanagan and many community partners. So they had their inaugural festival as hosted as a part of Culture Days. And it's now looking to be a permanent fixture on the city's cultural calendar, which is really great. Using Culture Days as an opportunity to maybe experiment and see what folks like. That's sort of an inspiring story from Sundog, and very excited to see. Another BC community down in the right, Richmond. The city of Richmond is actually a incredible champion of Culture Days. They've been participating, I think, almost since the beginning. The city there partners with the Richmond Cultural Center, which has access to many, many venues. And in recent years, Richmond Culture Days has absolutely exploded with activity. The organizers there, they specifically do use parts of their programming within the Culture Days event timeline to produce events that might appeal to and connect with Richmond's many diverse communities. So supporting a vast number of independent events, independent artists, and connecting with those very diverse communities in Richmond. And then in the upper right, we see the City of Morden in Manitoba. They have a great organizer profile on our website, on our blog right now, that we would point you to, but their story is really worth a read. The city and Culture Days, they used Culture Days to repartner and really collaborate more deeper with the local arts council and many other independent event organizers there. So it was a great success, and we were happy to see that. And then, of course, in the bottom left, we have the city of Yorkton, Saskatchewan, and they have a pretty unique way of engaging the community for Culture Days and supporting their Culture Days event. They bring on an artist ambassador of sorts, and their role is really to rally the community, ensure those deep connections and ongoing partnerships are a part of the future success of the Culture Days events and many other arts culture events supporting venues all the year round. So those are just a sprinkle of examples of how folks have used Culture Days to grow community. So as I said, I'm going to walk you through some of the details of how Culture Days looks across the country, and depending on where you are in the regions, how you can get involved. So just an overview of our supporting provincial offices and the regional networks. Getting involved really is as simple as organizing an event or adapting existing programming. However, many of our provincial partners, they offer that extra support, as Mercedes said, much more on the ground, their own marketing and media campaigns, programs, resources, and that additional access to those regional networks. It really all complements the national initiative and all works together. So a quick overview of what that looks like. If you are in British Columbia, you are welcome to get in touch with the wonderful BC Culture Days team for those network connections. They've got extra promo support and much more. They also wanted to highlight, they also manage a very successful BC Ambassador program, which is a wonderful mentorship program which connects emerging BC artists with professional development resources and mentors as they plan and produce Culture Days events through the summer into the fall. In Saskatchewan, Culture Days is actually administered by the not-for-profit SaskCulture. It's one of their many impactful cultural programs that they run all across the province. You can get in touch with the SaskCulture team with the contact on screen for supporting and planning those events, connecting with other organizers. They also do run a Culture Days Hub sponsorship program, which provides sponsorships up to $5,000 in support of local hubs. Their priority with those supporting events, their priority in that funding is to support events organized as part of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Applications are currently open. Send them a note and yeah, join the network there. And now we move to Manitoba. So in Manitoba, an organization called Culture Days Manitoba manages the event planning support and promotional opportunities that you can tap into. Culture Days Manitoba also runs the wildly successful Nuit Blanche Winnipeg, which has really become a kind of marquee event, even on the national scale as part of Culture Days. And they also run a very amazing and popular student days programs. And that's where they connect teachers and classrooms to arts and culture experiences as a part of Culture Days. So lots of exciting stuff going on there. And in Ontario, the fabulous Ontario Culture Days team has a vast array of resources and promotional materials that can help you get started planning your Culture Days events, and a very, very strong network of local organizers who are ready to connect. The team there also produces an annual province-wide Creative in Residence program, and they support a series of regional hubs. So be sure to check out what they're doing. So there are two regions where Culture Days works a little differently than the rest. And we've got Alberta and Quebec. So a little more information about that. In Alberta, Culture Days is actually administered and supported through the provincial ministry, and it runs the full month of September, which is a complement to their Month of the Artist initiative. So every year, there are hundreds of grants made available for Alberta Culture Days events. While the deadline for applying for those grants has passed for this year, you can still join in those celebrations, and I encourage you to get in touch with them from the contact information above, mentioned on screen. And as we also mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, the whole of this National Culture Days initiative was inspired by the success of the similar program in Quebec, and they're celebrating their 20th year this year, so they're a little ahead of us. But their celebration in Quebec does still center around that core last weekend of September. And their team hosts a separate event listing than the national one to support their events. So if you are in Quebec, it's a little different there, and I encourage you to get in touch with them there as well. And then finally, for the Northern Territories and Atlantic provinces, it's a little more self-organized. It's a little more informal. There's a great network of organizers and events. So if you are from those regions and are interested in organizing events for the first time, we encourage you to get in touch directly with our national team, and we can totally set that up and make connections for you. So to begin wrapping things up here, we hope that you are excited and inspired to join in the celebration this fall. There are a few key dates and items to watch out for. So as we've said many times, but it's worth repeating, event registration opens mid-May. That's when you'll also get access to the new suite of the annual campaign materials, all those wonderful things Mercedes mentioned. In the meantime, you can create an account. You can access the organizer dashboard, take a look at what's available there. And those with existing accounts, of course, you can still see and access your previous events and all that information. Now, I have to remind everyone how important registration is. By registering your event, you get access to these wide array of resources and tools, and it is how we and our provincial partners can find and identify what events are happening across the provinces, across Canada, and that's how we help you promote them. So the national and provincial campaigns spotlight events through the campaign season. We use these listings as a reference in all the media pitching, all the advertising mentioned, and all the social media features. But most importantly, it is the best way for the public to find your events as part of these national celebrations. Now, you don't need to have every single detail confirmed in order to register your event, but we do highly recommend registering in our system before the end of July. It's your best bet to get the most out of these benefits, including that multi-tiered marketing campaign. But again, events can be updated and edited anytime before Culture Days. And as Mercedes hinted at, we will be scheduling 2 workshops through the season. In those, we really dig into the latest tips, some trends in events marketing and promotions, connect you with some experts. And then we also walk you through all the various tools and templates and web applications. There'll be many new ones this year, and what will be available to you and how you can use them. So typically these happen in June and August, but we really encourage you to sign up for our newsletter so you can be the first to hear those announcements. So I just want to end by thanking you all for joining us today in this little Culture Days 101 session. If you're new to the network, we hope you feel inspired and excited to join the celebration. And if you're returning, we hope this was a nice refresh, energizing, and informative. We can't wait to see what unfolds for Culture Days 2024. And we thank you so much for your participation and your interest. And of course, if you have follow-up questions or you wish to be connected with various initiatives or folks in the network that we've mentioned, please don't hesitate to send us an email. We'll point you in the right direction. And yeah, thank you so much for coming. And yeah, we're excited to see what you do and hear from you.